Welcome to another episode of the Life Force Movement Podcast. I am Tate Finley, and today we're going to talk about the importance of self care. Now, I know self care is something that gets thrown around a lot, and I don't want to say it's a recent phenomenon, but 20, 30 years ago, people wasn't talking about self care. I know my parents and grandparents wasn't talking about self care. You had your faith, and you just kind of fought through or dealt with whatever stress or trauma or whatever things were going on in your life. You just kind of dealt with it and hope that it got better. But in today's time, self care is a topic that we are very inundated in, and people are really looking at the state of their mental health, you know, the state of their physical health, and the state of their spiritual functionality or their spiritual compass, where they are with their spirituality, whether they're in a Abrahamic faith, or they lean toward more of an Eastern philosophy or what have you. But mind, body, and spirit is really important. So those are the pillars of self care. And the way that I look at them. But before I kind of dive deep into this, please like, share, and comment, and let's go. So, when it comes to self care, look at it. I like to look at it in different components, and I like to compartmentalize self care because some of us do things very well in one area of self care, but then we will tend to lack in other areas. So let's start with nutrition. Nutrition is a part of self care because it deals with the body. But another thing, some people eat well, but hydration is a form of self care as well, because if you are not hydrated, you are forcing your cells to work overtime, and you're at the cellular level, you're not getting what you really need. And the way that the body works and being able to and the organs work, we need hydration, and not just from water but from food as well. And I don't want to go deep into this, but I know there's a lot of content out there about getting your hydration from food, and that is 100% accurate. You just have to be mindful of where you live, right? So if you're living in Panama or Guatemala or Belize, or where you're living close to nature, and you can actually, you're getting raw coconuts and fresh fruit and you're eating it in real time, that's great. If you're in a big city and you are exposed to a lot of pollution and other things, you going to have to drink, high quality version of water. So just be mindful of that when you start talking about your hydration and where you want to get your hydration from. Because I'm a big component of coconut water and all these great things, and watermelon and all types of melons and all of that. So I'm not saying that that stuff doesn't work. It works wholeheartedly, but just be mindful of where you are. And if you're listening to that, you have to ask yourself, is that practical for my life, and can I do it at this time, and am I in the environment to where I can do that with ease and not putting added stress onto myself and your family dynamics or what have you. Now, next is sleep. So sleep is a form of self-care, because a lot of things start when things start to go wrong in our body. Two things are usually prominent: lack of hydration and sleep deprivation. And when those two things are not working well, it starts to have a domino effect on other areas of your body, when you start talking about some acute illnesses and kind of a precursor to the oncoming of certain diseases and stuff like that. So just be mindful. I would say sleep deprivation, getting adequate sleep and adequate hydration is so important on your wellness journey. So just be mindful of that. And I tend to know when I'm off. I know that I haven't got enough sleep and I haven't gotten proper hydration, and I can just feel it in my body because I'm very cognitive of that. But just keep that in mind. Next is mindfulness, right? When you start dealing with mindfulness and you start dealing with your mindfulness as it runs parallel with your mental health, and giving yourself what you need to kind of level set your day. And that mindfulness can be in journaling, it can be in reading your favorite book, it could be taking a walk in the park, it could be a yoga practice. And the yoga and the mindfulness, and the yoga and the spirituality, mindfulness and spirituality sometimes works hand in hand, because I think yoga can be a spiritual practice as well as a mindfulness practice. Now, some people, like I said, in other faiths may not see it that way, but what I'm saying is you can certain things carry over to other aspects of your the self-care dynamic. So just be mindful of that. Um, Now, when it comes to, and I did mention that your spiritual foundation and stuff like that, make sure that if you do have a faith, while you're doing your nutrition regimen, your physical activity, you are mindful of your connection to source. And I say source because I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to offend my Christian clients or my Islamic clients or my Buddhist clients, right? So just be mindful of connect to source. And one of the things I tell people to do if you're doing like a cleanse or detox or anything like that, and you're doing like a 21-day type of thing, during that time, the limit, don't watch TV. Get into your faith or your spiritual affiliation, right? Look at your favorite scripture of the Bible and read that every night, or whatever. So I'm very big on that, to stay connected when you're working on one aspect of your wellness journey and self-care. Make it in combination or in parallel with your spiritual foundation as well. I've found it, I've seen it be very, very helpful with my clients. One of the things that I do here is I'm really big on affirmations, but I have tools that will I help you program your affirmations. It's called the Mind Sync journey that we go through, and it's using sound therapy. But you're able to program and your affirmations yourself, and it enables you to hear your own voice. I have a client, and she has a Christian faith, and she uses, whether it's scriptures from the Bible or the way that she prays, and she's saying it. But when she gets in her car and she's playing her affirmations back, it's her voice, and it's enunciating or acknowledging her faith, and it's just reinforcing that she knows she's on the right path with her nutrition and her self care and her faith as well. So it's a beautiful synergetic thing that I see when people are combining them both. So keep that in mind. Now, the physical aspect of self care is really essential, but I think what happens is, and I see this mostly, people want to look good aesthetically, and that's what they primarily do. They will work out, they will do this, and then they'll do a little stuff like I may journal a little bit, or I may take a walk every now and then, but they become more physical and they lose sense of the other things, or they use the physicality to make up for the fact that they don't have a mindfulness practice. So they'll go 3 hours in the gym and not really spend time alone. They don't really give themselves space to, whether it's heal or just to become self-aware. Self-awareness is really big in self-care, because before you can care for yourself, you have to be aware that you actually need that. And I think what happens is people get on autopilot and they just do what they know. And because sometimes that's a fearful place to be in, to say, okay, I need to acknowledge that, and I need to really focus on what my needs are, what my internal needs are. One of the things that I did, and I used to be like that. I used to go to the gym, 5 o'clock. I'm playing ball till 7 o'clock. Then I'm working out until 8:39. So I'm 4 hours in the gym, but I wasn't journaling. I wasn't doing all the mindfulness things, and and things got really, really rough for me in my life. And so when I decided to really understand myself, is two things that I wanted to know when I decided to go start having conversations with other, wellness professionals and stuff like that. I wanted to understand why I react and why I attract. Why do I react to things a certain way, and why do I attract certain situations and people in my life? And reaction and attraction, those are the things that really got me really honing in on self-care and why it's really important. And it helped me understand that a lot of things are not my fault. Um, when certain things happen to you at certain times of your life, it's not your fault. But what happens when you become an adult, you have access to resources, and you have to understand that these resources are here to help you, but it's for you to actually take ownership. And that's what self-care is. It's about taking ownership of the things that you actually have control over. You do have control over the time that you choose to sleep, right? We have jobs, we have things, but you can say no to other things that doesn't serve your purpose to give yourself adequate sleep. Adequate sleep. You can say no to things that doesn't serve your purpose when it comes to, um, am I going to this happy hour, or am I going to go and do some journaling, or reading a good book or whatever. It's not saying that having fun and connecting with others, because that's very healthy. What I'm saying is, when it comes to self care, you have to be mindful of where you are. If you know that I have not been alone and been alone with my thoughts and really connected to myself and to my source and to the things that I need, and I had a friend tell me this, once, a few years ago. He says, "Man, sometimes you have to just go home and get in your bed and hug yourself." And it really stuck out with me, because that's true. Whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, man, you have to hug yourself and give yourself grace. And understanding all these components of self care, like I talk about, the nutrition, the hydration, the sleep, the physical activity, the mindfulness, the spiritual connection. All these things are really important, because it helps raise your vibrational frequency. And we hear this word all the time, and we hear, I don't vibe, my frequency's off. But what does that really mean? It means that when you're not giving yourself proper self care and self attention to yourself and what your needs are, you begin to function at a level that's not in line with the way you were created. And so just be mindful of that, and know that there's other things. I talked about in a previous video about aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is a form of self-care, because you're taking nature and you're allowing your body to absorb nature and the components in nature, allowing that to work as a benefactor in your eternal system. And that's really, really important, because it helps aid, or it helps accelerate some of the things that you're trying to do for your mind, body, and spirit. So just keep that in mind. If you need some help with it, I'll have a link to a self-care challenge. It's a 10-day self-care challenge in the bio, in the description, excuse me. you know Try it. It's something that's really easy for you to do. It's accountability. And if you need some assistance with it, reach out to me, and I'll help you and I'll walk you through it. But there's the modules, or each day there's a new self-care challenge that you have to do. And it's, whether it's a certain type of, hydration, certain type of water you have to drink. This is the oils that we're going to use today, or this is, you know, like your daily greens, right? This is the nutrition that we're having today. So the self care challenge. And last but not least, before I go, your breath. Your breath and breathing is so important, because you can go so many days without food. You can go so many days without water. You can only go a few moments without your breath. So I always ask people, like, why do you think breath work is not important? Because that's how you actually maintain your vital force, right? And that's the, my mantra, my trademark is, the key is the key, right? The key to everything is the energy. And you are able to harness and regenerate your energy through proper breathing. And so that's part of your self-care journey as well. And I do teach my clients certain levels of I practice qigong. That's something that I've learned from my mentor, Dr. Gabriel Hernandez from Holistic University out of Atlanta, Georgia. If you're looking to get into a deeper level of that science, please reach out to him. Before it's, but clients and people who are out there who are interested in just some basic breathing techniques and stuff that will help you, please reach out to me and schedule a one-on-one consultation, and we'll make that part of your journey. So I hope that you found this information beneficial about self-care, why it's important, and just take advantage and become self-aware and challenge yourself to give yourself grace and give yourself love and give yourself support, and just start stepping into your power and taking ownership for your life. So, with that being said, as I always say, speak your life, develop your greatness, and protect your peace at all costs. This is Tay Finley with the Life Force Movement Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, peace.